So, just like the Premier League games, they're coming thick and fast, as are these match reviews. So we're back with another podcast, and this is the match review for the game against Brighton. United are coming off the back of that lacklustre FA Cup quarter-final performance against Norwich, if we can call it a performance. That game brought us a lot of questions. The first one is how the extra time is going to affect our performance against Brighton. Obviously, Ollie chucked on a lot of first team players that he probably wouldn't have wanted to have used. Players like Tony Marshall, Pogba, Matic, obviously Maguire, Bruno were starting the game, and I think it was clever to give Rashford some sort of minutes to try and play himself into a bit of form. But the others, he certainly won't have wanted to have used. Greenwood again, he probably won't have wanted to have used Mason Greenwood. So it'll be interesting to see how those extra minutes, how they affect the players in this next fixture against Brighton, because it's not going to be an easy game. I don't think it's going to be as easy as a lot of people make out that it's going to be. The other question that it really raises is to the quality and the depth of our squad. So Solskjaer made 8 changes for the game against Norwich, and some of them were good changes. So Boye played, Juan Mata, McTominay and Fred that have done well all season. But I think it shows that there's that lack of quality when we have to change large portions of the team. Now, if we're seriously wanting to compete for the league as well as compete for trophies in Europe and domestically next season or the season after, or whenever it may be that we are competing again, that's not going to happen until we've got quality in depth. So when we haven't got a player like Bruno, say for instance, Bruno, hope he doesn't, and I'm going to touch all wooden things in my room here, that he doesn't get injured. We hope he doesn't get injured, but if he did, we want to know that we've got somebody behind him that's almost at that standard, if not at that standard. Because I think without Bruno, we are a very average team. I think we saw that in games like the Norwich one beforehand. We struggle to break teams down, and Bruno's given us that little bit of creativity, that little bit of something different. So if we were ever to be without him, and I'm pretty sure I'm just like every other United fan, when he rolled himself off the pitch against Sheffield United, my heart stopped slightly, because I thought we cannot be without Bruno for this running. We are a different side with him in it. And that's why he's undroppable. That's why Solskjaer has to play him in these FA Cup games, has to play him in the league games. He just has to play him. But if he was to get injured, suspended, or whatever it might be, he needed a rest, it'd be nice to know that we've got a player that you think, yeah, well, he can come into the team and do almost just as good a job. But at the moment, we don't have that. So when we're starting to leave out 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 as it was against Norwich players, we're just not the same side. So we're very much a side of, this is the starting 11, this is the best 11, this is the best players in the team. And if they don't play, the performance drops off massively. So I think that's an area that over the summer or next summer or the next few windows, we really need to focus on. We need to be getting quality in depth in that side. When we look at arguably the greatest side in my lifetime, the treble side, Ferguson had 2 class players for every single position on the field. That allowed him to rotate in for league games, in for European games, in for domestic cup games. We'd got so much depth in that side, and that's what we don't have now. So I mean, we leave Martial out, we can bring Igalo in, which is a different sort of focal point to the attack. But we leave Rashford out, and you're looking at bringing in, again, this is no disrespect to these players, but you're looking at bringing in Dan James, who I think's done very well this season, but he's not at the same standard as Rashford. Or Jesse Lingard, who you can see is just so low on confidence. He's not effective. We leave Bruno out. You either shunt Pogba into the 10 position, although I think he's probably better a little bit further back, or you play Juan Mata or Andreas Pereira. Again, they're not on the level of Bruno. On the right hand side, at the moment, it's a battle between Dan James and Mason Greenwood, and that's not Mason Greenwood's natural position. Again, in midfield, we're pretty blessed in that sense that we've got Matic, Pogba, McTominay and Fred that are all very capable players. Right back, we leave Wan-Bissaka out and Dalot comes in, and yes, Dalot might be better going forward, but he's nowhere near as good defensively. Centre back, Maguire's having to play every game because if the only other options we've got 4 centre backs, so we've got the two that are considered Ollie's first choice in Lindelof and Maguire, and then your backup is Bailly, who again is very, very good, and there's times that I want to see him start ahead of Lindelof, but then you've got Phil Jones, and then you get to left back, and it's again the battle's on between Shaw and Brandon Williams. So there are a few spots on the pitch that we are lucky that we've got depth, but it's nowhere near enough. And I think that game against Norwich really highlighted that. It really highlights the fact that if we want to win things at the moment, we've got to make sacrifices elsewhere. So if we want top 4 football, we may have to sacrifice the FA Cup or Europe. We want to win Europe, we may have to sacrifice the FA Cup or that top 4 push, because we just don't have the depth to go on and do things. I think as well the team also looked very unbalanced. Again, this was always the thing of United over the last few seasons. It looks very unbalanced, and I think it looks a bit unbalanced again. When you play Lingard, Bruno and Mata, they all want to occupy that number 10 position, so it's very narrow. There's no width on the field, no width on the pitch. Then you've got Shaw that doesn't really overlap, and then Dalot that there's just no sort of balance in that team that played against Norwich. Obviously the team that played against Sheffield United in the league, that looked a much better side, obviously with that starting 11, those stars out. And when we look at what Brighton are doing, so they are coming off the back of a 0-0 draw at Leicester. Now that's no easy feat because Leicester are a good side, obviously occupying 3rd position in the league at the moment, so they're no pushovers, they're no slouches. Brighton have gone there and got a draw and kept a clean sheet. They also had that 2-1 win against Arsenal. So they also beat Arsenal 2-1 with the Morphy penalty, or the Morphy goal was it late on? I don't know if it was a penalty or not. And they've got some good players. They've got some players that can hurt you. So obviously Morphy being one. I'm a big fan of Aaron Moy as well. I think he's a very good player. He can make things happen for him. He makes him tick. And they can bring players on like Guy Murray. They've got Pascal Gross there. They've got some good players, and it's not going to be as easy as I think a lot of fans think. It's just going to be go down to Brighton, walk away with 3 points. Let's not remember we have struggled there in the past. There've been tough games down at Brighton in the past for us. They're solid defensively with it's normally Duncan Duffy at the back, so they're solid defensively, they're organised. They're exactly the sort of game that we struggle against. They're going to defend well, they're going to defend in an organised manner, and it's going to be up to us to break them down. They might nick something on the counter attack or from a set piece, but it's up to us to break them down, and that's where we've struggled all season. So I can see this again being the kind of game that we might struggle in slightly. So in terms of, if we're looking at the starting 11, the starting 11 that we predict for this game, it's going to be David De Gea in goal. He's obviously got the gloves for the league fixtures. And Romero gets the cup games. Obviously Romero, there's arguments as to whether he could or couldn't have done better with the Norwich goal. That's another argument entirely. But David De Gea gets the gloves for the Brighton game. It's going to be back to Aaron Wan-Bissaka at right back. We've said before that he picks himself for league games. To Aaron Wan-Bissaka. I think we're going to go back to the Maguire and Lindelof partnership at the centre back. That seems to be Ollie's preferred partnership, with Maguire and Lindelof as opposed to Maguire and Bailly. And left back, I'd like to see Brandon Williams play. I think he probably should have got a start against Norwich in the cup had he not, because he's not started the previous league games, and I think he offers more going forward, and he's equally as good defensively as Luke Shaw. So I'd like to see Brandon given a game at left back. I'd play, and I can see it being Nemanja Matic at the bottom of that midfield. Again, didn't start the game against Norwich. He did come on. He had a very good game against Sheffield United. We've said before he's got the ability to split the centre backs to allow the full backs to push on. He's the most natural defensive midfielder we've got in the side. So I'd play Matic. I'd go with the sort of midfield combination of Pogba and Bruno, sort of give them licence to roam a little bit with Matic sweeping up. Pogba and Bruno are two most creative players, and in a game where you're going to have 60-70% of the ball, you're going to need some creativity to break that stubborn defence down. And the only two sort of creative players we've got in that mould are Bruno and Pogba, and I think we've seen when they play together they look very good. They read each other's games, they're on the same sort of wavelength. They've got the ability to control midfield, control games on the ball and off the ball. So it's going to be Pogba and Bruno, and then I think we're going with the same front three as we did against Sheffield United. So Rashford out on the left. Like I said, he's probably out of sorts a little bit. He's never really had this amount of time off from football, so he got the injury before the lockdown, so he's probably not had this length of time out from football. I think he needs to play himself into a bit of form, and again I think he picks himself. He's having a fantastic season, an absolutely wonderful season. I just hope he rediscovers that form that we saw before the injury. So Marcus out on the left. I'll play Mason out on the right. I don't think it's really going to be a game where we're getting in behind defences, and we've discussed this about Dan Jones before. Those are the kind of games he's effective in, when he can use his pace to get in behind the back line. I don't see that being the case. Mason's ability to go left or right and create half a yard of space is, I think, going to be exactly the order for this game. So I see Mason playing on the right with Anthony Martial down the middle. Obviously had an impact when he came on against Norwich, scored the hat-trick against Sheffield United. So again, I think he's Ollie's number one striker at the moment. So Anthony Martial gets the nod up front. In terms of the score prediction, I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be closer than people realise, or people want to admit. Like I say, Brighton are a very good side at home. They're going to defend resolutely. They don't concede many goals. I think it's probably going to be... There's going to be a goal in it, so I think it's going to be a 1-0 win for United or a 2-1 win for United. I'd probably edge on the 2-1 because I can probably see us conceding a goal, just because that's what we do away from home. But I'd go with a 1-0 or 2-1, more probably a 2-1 scoreline. And hopefully that is the case, and we do come away from the Amex with 3 points. After the game, as always, you can find our match review on site at rantsofareddevil.com, where you can also find other United related articles and content, as well as past episodes of these podcasts. These podcasts are also available on iTunes, Spotify and YouTube. So whatever platform you listen on, if you can like or subscribe to our channel on that platform, it will help us in the long run, and we appreciate each and every one of you that do like and subscribe to our content. Like we say, hopefully we walk away with the 3 points. Hopefully you enjoy the match review on site afterwards, and until the next time, the next match preview, we will see you later.